My name is Horхе Fерrer, and I teach at the California Institute of Integral Studies in San Francisco. And I've been here in California for almost 24 years now. I came to study my PhD and I stay teaching. And I teach classes in transpersonal psychology, in comparative mysticism, and also classes on what I call embodied spiritual inquiry. It's a more participatory approach to spiritual unfolding and growth. And also I'm very interested in the integration of sexuality and spirituality.
Yeah, my question was that, as I understand, you kind of deconstructed the basis of transpersonal psychology, and especially philosophy, Aldous Huxley,
The perennial philosophy.
Perennial philosophy.
Yes.
So I am interested in this part of your ideas.
Sure. And this is interesting, but this also ties down with the conference that we are attending here, Psychedelic Science in Oakland, 2017. Many of the pioneers of transpersonal psychology, they live in a time in which the kind of spiritual sources that they had, and many of the authors who influenced them more, for example, Ken Wilber was highly influenced by Alan Watts, and all of them were influenced by Aldous Huxley and also Houston Smith, who were part of what has been called a perennialist school. People who believe there is a single spiritual world, a single spiritual ultimate, to which all traditions, when they move beyond the esoteric forms and they go to the esoteric, the mystical, they go to the same place,
Like non-duality.
For example, that's one of the candidates, that's Ken Wilber's candidate, but there are other candidates. People have candidates for this unity in many different ways. Different traditions talk about it in different ways. One of the other candidates is pure consciousness, Robert Forman's work. Ken Wilber's is non-duality. Stan Grof talks about absolute consciousness or the void, But all the traditions, in a way, when they were more ecumenical, when they wanted to not say, oh, the other traditions are false and ours is the only right, they would move to these positions. They would say, oh well, the other traditions are not wrong, but they actually lead to the goal that we think is the one. For example, Karl Rahner, a very famous Christian theologian, would say, oh, the rest of non-Christian people, they are anonymous Christians. So they pray to the same God than us, but they don't know. And that's kind of disrespectful. That's kind of like uninformed and disrespectful, because practitioners from these other traditions would say, well, we don't think so. Our God is not your God, and actually in our tradition there is no God, for example, right? So this is one of the problems of this thinking, It's kind of like a meta-reading of the traditions, that situates your favorite spiritual choice in the top and says, all of them go to the same place, or all of them are steps in that direction, or all of them are, the metaphor of the different blind men and the elephant, right? All of them are touching a part of the elephant, but I'm the one who sees the whole complete elephant, So I kind of, in my work, I deconstructed that. I found that very contingent of this very an exportation of very naive objectivism into the spiritual realm, like if this ultimately is like a thing, that can be seen from different perspectives. Or this also idea that I find very simplistic, that there is just one single spiritual universe and one single ultimate. What the mystical and also the psychedelic evidence is telling us is that we live in a multiverse, and that there is a tremendous.
So what do you think is world is non-dual, or what is it not whole? So how do you prove your position that they are moved to the different places of these traditions?
I don't feel I have anything to prove, actually. I'm kind of mostly simply pointing out that many different traditions actually speak and are enacting our spiritual ultimate, and those spiritual ultimates are not the same across traditions. Either textually, descriptively, hermeneutically, and they are not the same phenomenologically when you have like Christian and Buddhist monks, or mystics doing interviews or dialogue, you realize that they admit that, we're not talking about the same thing. Like emptiness, sunyata, is not a personal and loving goal, it's a different thing, and it's not the same also as the, unity of the Atman and Brahman, and it's not the same as the kind of non-duality that many new Advaita teachers talk today, like from Gilbert to Cartole, to Alessanti, they're talking about different things. So
Can you pinpoint? So, as I understand their position, they say it's the same in general, but language has a difference, or context is a difference. What you answer on that?
Well, I find that claim quite problematic. That was one of the assumptions, like in a classical perennialist model, there were different perennialist models, but one of them was saying, well, ontologically, the being is the same, but it's the different languages, the different descriptions, clothed by the different doctrinal dispositions that creates the difference. That's very problematic because on the one hand, like the dialectic between experience and interpretation is very it's both ways, it's complex. It's not only that we access this pure experience and we put our notions in it, it's that our notions co-create part of the experience. And that experience also can always surprise us and enrich our descriptions. It's in both ways, and it's something we have learned from hermeneutics, we have learned from many mystics, we have learned it's a process more dialectical, it's not just a one way. This object that is objective, and then our experience of it clothed by different lenses, different interpretations. So when I look at all this diversity of different descriptions and actions, I call it, because I think it's important the distinction, because a description normally is a description of a physical object that exists independently and is described in different ways, but an action is to bring forth. It's a co-creation. It's not something that we just create ourselves. It's not just man-made. It's made that we are anthropocentric. But it's something that we co-create with like a creative energy that I call the mystery. And that creative energy is, I say, it's undetermined in the sense that it can be enacted in a multiplicity of ways. So in the same way that I am my actions, whether physical or emotional or contemplative or energetic, I see that the mystery is its in actions. So there is no duality between that energy and Christian God, the Tao, the Sunyata, but there are different gestures, creative gestures in that energy. So perhaps a way, something that I will help to picture this. The perennialist model is this model in which everything goes from diversity to unity. And it's a model that has been deeply embedded in the unconscious of the spiritual practitioners for many generations. But I think it is just something almost the other way around, that we come from a common root, that is from the same species, same family, common root, but like a tree branches out in very different directions, right? And it's by traditions of the schools branching out, and that doesn't mean like in the trees, right? Some of the branches cross and overlap. So we do have, for example, the notion of a personal God in Judaism and Christianity and in Islam, you do have similarities across traditions, but that doesn't mean that they're talking about the same thing. I see it more like as a creative cornucopia that branches out in a different kind of direction.
And do you think there is a kind of ultimate state of consciousness or ultimate level of development for human beings?
Yeah, I don't.
No, so you think there is just a spectrum, and there is no absolute perfection or ideal human being.
Okay. This requires qualification.
Okay.
When I say I don't, I mean I don't believe there is like an end point for human development. Even many mystics say that enlightenment is not just the end; it's the beginning of the spiritual journey in some ways. So life is infinite, and therefore, the more you advance in the path, the more you think you know, the more you realize the little you know, and so much more, And even like again, this is like the shift from seeing the ultimate principle or the mystery as an object, as something complete in itself, to seeing something that is alive and is evolving, and is evolving in part through us, not only through us, but in part through human history and through human spirituality. Once you open yourself to this idea that the different traditions move into different directions and they can overlap, the idea of creating like this kind of, as Wilbert did, these levels and associate all traditions against each other in this kind of universal path of evolution, spiritual evolution becomes completely obsolete, And within a single tradition, you can make those qualitative claims, Why? Because a tradition normally is understood, for example, to go from one place to another place, from ignorance to enlightenment in Buddhism, right? And then people who already travel that path, right? They can some of them they go to stages and they got a signpost, and then they give you maps and it's like, oh, I'm on the right track, But even within those traditions, they were like schools. They would say those maps are pointless, like more zen, like awakening can happen anytime. But as you look at this idea cross-culturally, like cross-traditionally, it's very problematic to compare, let's say, Wilbert and Meyers in the past, like shamans are kind of this lower state compared to Ramana Maharshi. It's like, according to whom? What standards? Whose standards? What kind of ethnocentric colonialism is happening here? And all the traditions they created these skills, like Christianity, the pagan traditions were down, right? Christianity is down. Buddhism, of course, hierarchies, learning all traditions, Neo-Hindus, even Sri Aurobindo, right? So it's very pandemic in religion, to create hierarchies and to situate your own spiritual choices and traditions at all. I call that phenomenon spiritual narcissism.
Right, but in this case, there is no meaning to go for any tradition because they just, kind of horizontal evolution, not next step.
No, hold on. I believe that all those traditions they have not complex evolution. All the traditions are also evolving, qualitatively differently and better than the ordinary human state.
Okay, if they are better, so we can somehow label this next stage, isn't it?
Yes, in a very general way, perhaps, in a very general way, you can call it like a post-conventional, right? That's like a very generic example, right? But what I would warn against is as I was saying, like comparing the shamans as a whole with theistic traditions and non-dual traditions. I mean, that's very problematic because these traditions have very different goals. They have different business, So you cannot compare, like basketball with soccer, or with rugby and say one is better than the other because it plays with, the codes are different, So I think we should judge this tradition in its